listening to the Bob Duco Show. As we work our way through the news hour, news and politics. All right, CNN and other media is reporting that Donald Trump has now officially signed the Mexico City policy. So he's done it already. Did it before noon on the first Monday in the White House. One of the very first executive orders that he signed. I think that is great news. All right. It's stuff like that, folks, that is what's behind all of this anger from the liberal feminists in this country. I'm telling you, it's the policies, it's conservatism, it's conservative policies that they're so angry at. But they don't want to say we hate conservatives. So what they're doing is saying we hate Donald Trump. And they're claiming that Donald Trump is this misogynist, sexist, racist, Hitler-esque kind of ugly person, that they're just shocked, I tell you, that such a person could be elected president of the United States. And so they hold these rallies against Donald Trump, like, for example, what happened on Saturday, the March for Women, as it's referred to. Well, in Washington, D.C., they estimate you had somewhere around 500,000 or so liberal feminist women that were wearing these pink hats, and these pink hats were shaped in a particular design of a female part, we'll say. A southern female part. Think of a crude name for a cat, and that's what these women were wearing on their heads. Just a sea of pink everywhere. How crude, how crass. You really think these women are representing all women in America? No, they're not. These are the radical, leftist, pro-abortion feminists who abortion has become a religion for them, and they're just so angry. And here's what it is with Donald Trump, okay? They can't stand the fact that Donald Trump is going to institute more pro-life policies in this country. They hate that. He started today. He just signed the Mexico City policy, banning U.S. taxpayer dollars from being used to fund abortion in other countries around the world. They can't stand the fact that he's not going to be a hero and a champion for the LGBT causes. Now, in all fairness, I don't expect Trump to be a hero and a champion for traditional marriage either. He tends to look at that like a Pontius Pilate. All right, hands off, so what? So he's not going to push one side or the other. But so far it appears he's not going to aggressively push the LGBT agenda. I don't see Donald Trump lighting up the White House in rainbow-colored lights like Barack Obama did. So the liberal feminists hate that. They hate that Donald Trump is going to institute religious freedoms, and that especially Christians and born-again Christians in this country, that we're getting a voice. We're now being heard. We're now getting a seat at the table. We're being respected. Religious freedoms and liberties are being respected under this president, and the liberals hate that. The fact that evangelical Christians are even being given a voice at all is driving them crazy. And then, of course, their liberal left-wing media is being taken on head-on by Donald Trump. So it's the policies of Donald Trump that they hate. But they can't come out and say, we hate conservatism, we hate everything that conservatives stand for. They can't say that, because then they'll make it obvious what hate mongers they really are on the left. So what they have to do is they have to say, it's Donald Trump the person that we're so offended by, because he's such a racist. Because for decades, and they cited these examples over decades of, well, look what happened 20, 30 years ago when he was sued by the Justice Department for discriminating against black people in housing in his buildings and whatever. And I'm not going to relitigate that. I already debunked that and put that into proper context already. And look at the sexist things that he's said about women over the decades, and the different rude and crude things that he said. And I think to myself, are you kidding me? You liberal women are standing out there by the millions around the world claiming that you're so offended by sexist, vulgar language directed at women from decades ago involving Donald Trump. You're so offended by this, it offends your sensibilities while you're standing out there with these graphically vulgar pink hats on. Stop and think about this a moment, folks. And And then while they're spewing their hatred, they're calling themselves the, quote, love army. And Madonna was out there speaking to the crowd. And the crowd is cheering and not even getting the absolutely blatant irony in what she's saying. She was saying that we're about love, not about hate. We're about love, and we need about love and unity. And while she's saying that, she talked about how she's angry, outraged, and have, quote, thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House. Blowing up the White House. By the way, folks, it's a crime to say things like that. It's a crime. A spokesman for the Secret Service apparently told the Gateway Pundit that the agency is aware of her comments and they're opening an investigation into her comments. Since then, she's backed off a little bit, putting out a statement on Instagram saying, well, I didn't really mean that. I mean, what I really meant, so, she knows that what she did was commit a crime. And it is a crime, folks. By the way, she sung the song Human Nature to the crowd, but she changed the lyrics of the song to say, Donald Trump blank a blank. And I can't say what it, but it's so crude and so graphic. The X-rated homosexual act that she was calling on Donald Trump to do as the lyrics of this song, blank a blank. I'm not even going to give you euphemisms, okay? This is what she's singing out there while saying we're about love and we're the love army. And the people are just cheering. And then, of course, she says this thing about blowing up the White House. Well, you know what? Can I tell you something, folks? She ought to be charged with a crime. It is a crime. The U.S. Attorney's Office ought to charge her because what she did is illegal. She told hundreds of thousands of people that the White House should be blown up. And she said this on live television being viewed by millions of people, that the White House should be blown up. Now, the next day she issued a statement, well, I was just talking in metaphor. Okay, fine. And folks, don't misunderstand me. I'm not suggesting that Madonna is actually rallying in real life and effort, encouraging people to go out there and make bombs and try to blow up the White House. Okay, I know she was just spewing her anger and venom. I get that. But folks, it's still potentially inciting people to carry out crimes. You're not allowed to publicly call for the assassination of the President of the United States. You're not allowed to do that. During the last 8 years of Barack Obama, I was vehemently opposed to his policies. But folks, if I would have ever, over the airwaves, said, you know, what really needs to happen, somebody needs to blow up the White House. If I had said something like that, you know what? The Secret Service would have been knocking on the door. Bing bong. Okay, but you can't do stuff like that. She did, but since she's a liberal, she's going to get away with it because there's a different set of rules for liberals than there are conservatives and the rest of Americans for that matter. So, let's face facts, folks. This march in Washington is about pure hatred, pure anger. Liberals are angry that they lost the election. They're angry that abortion and Planned Parenthood is going to be scaled back in this country. They're angry that the LGBT agenda isn't going to be more aggressively pushed like Hillary would have done. They're angry that religious freedoms are going to be respected now. They're angry that evangelical Christians are given a voice, a seat at the table, and being treated with respect. That evangelical Christians are actually allowed to be in the White House talking to Donald Trump and giving him advice on policy. They're angry that the liberal media is being taken head on. They're angry that they lost. That liberalism now has to take a back seat and conservatives get to have some of their policies incorporated now. And the left can't stand it. They can't handle it. They're sore losers. So they have these angry rallies. Well, by the way, one of the things that Madonna also said from the stage when calling herself the Love Army, and we're about love, not hate, love, because love trumps hate. You know what she also said in the same breath? She said, and to our detractors, to the people who don't agree with us, to conservatives in America, she leaned into the microphone and very boldly said, blank you. But she didn't say the word blank. She said the F word, clear as day. And you know something? CNN and MSNBC, they devoted their all-day coverage to the anti-Trump Women's March. And so consequently, they were broadcasting live, speaker after speaker after speaker. And CNN and MSNBC weren't even running on a delay. And so guess what? Madonna saying that went out live over CNN, went out live over MSNBC. And after she said it, she leaned into the microphone and said it a second time. And it was only then that CNN and MSNBC were like, ruh-roh, we better pull. And so then they pulled the live feed and started offering commentary. The hatred that comes from the left is just staggering. Anyway, that brings me then to